I'm busy, busy, busy being good. We're talking Peter Pan Records and the Caroleers. Hit it. It was 1980s. The arcade game Pac-Man was released, MTV was launched, Lady Di and Prince Charles were married, and a bunch of anonymous musicians made a Christmas record for children. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a very special guest and a Totally Rad Christmas all-star, Thom Crowe, one of the hosts of the Way Awesome 'Tis the Podcast. Tom, how's it going?
It's about to get a lot better because we are talking amazing Christmas, underappreciated music.
You know, it's funny because I hadn't really, when you brought this up to me, I really didn't know what I was in for. And I'd seen some of those, the documentary, Jingle Bell Rocks and things like that. And so I knew about the whole obscure Christmas music, really cool scene. It's almost like an indie kind of thing where you're just trading singles and stuff like that. And I was surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised by these. I really dug a lot of these tunes.
Well, it's not very often that you find a whole record full of catchy Christmas originals, right? I mean, nobody's doing that anymore.
No, not really. Mm-mm. I mean, it's very vague. Most of the time it's standards with like 3 or 4 original songs peppered in.
Especially to have these random songs that went for from the 60s into the 80s, and nobody knows any of these songs.
No, I had never heard these songs.
Which is weird. It all started when my wife and I were either about to it was either the Christmas before we got married or our first married Christmas, and I was talking about the Christmas tree that ran away, and she was convinced I had just made this up. She's like, that's not a song. And so that began, I think, a 4-year hunt until I could find the exact record I grew up with on eBay in like 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because, I mean, this was, pre-Spotify, pre-Apple Music.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it on Napster.
There was a few tunes I looked for on Napster that I could never find either. So I feel your pain there. I mean, I never used Napster. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I never used it on my college server. Not even once.
Nope, never.
What are we drinking tonight, my friend?
So I'm drinking some honey lemon tea. My allergies were kind of killing me today. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure my voice was at least kind of decent for tonight.
Turmeric spice. Oh, I'm in the same boat.
Nice. That's really cool. Homemade?
Yeah.
Right on. It's the way to do it.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, there's a recipe, and I know we're kind of going off topic here, but there's a recipe I have for honey lemon tea that also uses cayenne and ginger in it as well. And it really just clears you out. So it's I might cut that part out. I don't know.
Going even more off track just for you. If you want to pause, that's fine. There's what's called the Dragon Slayer shot at Whole Foods Market.
Okay.
And what it is it's lemon, like straight lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and something else. Hold on. But we do it whenever we get sick. And man, I tell you, it clears you out immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
It works. And I don't ever believe in that. Oh, it's ginger. It's fresh ginger.
Ginger. Yeah. That ginger, that gets you. But especially the cayenne. There was a friend of mine who he would wash dishes as a part-time job for through high school and stuff. And he would get a really bad allergic reaction on his hands. And so the owner said that that's pretty common. And instead what he should do is soak his hands in like a cayenne pepper solution. And he would do that and the rash would like clear up. It was crazy.
Wow.
So that Cayenne, man, that'll knock us out and make you be able to sing all these tunes.
Is that what you put into? That's what goes into like a Mexican hot cocoa, right?
It can be Cayenne. I've also seen chipotle used as well.
Chipotle.
Mm-hmm. And that one, of course, is just a dried jalapeno.
Yeah.
So that's a little more, I suppose, Mexican, but Cayenne also works really well. So it's good with some cinnamon. Oh,
yeah,
knock it right out.
I loved it when you have your brothers on and y'all are talking and y'all go flawlessly from just a typical nondescript. Well, really, it sounds. I know you're from Texas too, but it's a nondescript Midwestern American dialect straight into a full-blown Mexican accent and right back with no pause.
It's funny because growing up, in South Texas, we're like 98% Hispanic, and I got a lot of flack for not having a more Hispanic accent, and we have a little bit of Irish in us, so I'm also lighter skinned. So I didn't quite fit in, and then a lot of my best friends were Caucasian growing up. So the few that were actually in the Valley, they were my best friends. And so I don't really, like you said, we don't really have or think of ourselves as having an accent, but it's definitely not like East Texas with twang and things like that either. So we try our best to keep it, down the middle. And but we grew up hearing Spanish, so sometimes we'll occasionally just say things like that. Chipotle.
Yeah, I like it.
But I don't think there was any cayenne or chipotle in these Christmas tunes here, because they're all really sweet tunes. I mean, there's a few that are a little out there, but most of them, I mean, they're great. And I'd never heard of any of these tunes.
They're very. When you said there was no cayenne in there, I thought you were going to say they were very white bread, because they are very, very vanilla white bread songs, right? Like there's no flair to them. It's very vanilla. I mean, it's just very. The music itself is very nondescript. You wouldn't classify it as really anything. You can tell it was made. Well, do we want to go into who the Caroleers Peter Pan players were?
Yeah, we'll get there. I wanted to hear your opinions and thoughts on it first. But
but with this, you can tell it's not a group that's trying to create something, right? They're not trying to create something that's long lasting. They're not trying to make a musical impact.
Right.
These are people who go into the recording studio, get a paycheck. Like that's it.
That's exactly right. And when we talk about who they are, we'll get into that. But so you actually brought this band up to me because you grew up with it. Is that?
I did.
Okay.
It was a record my grandparents had, and as you can see from as you look at the cover, it very much is something that would catch a kid's attention, right?
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm.
As it's sitting there next to, Elvis Presley and Bing Crosby and
Harry Como.
This one stands out. It's got some fun illustrations. The picture from the 10,000 Santa Clauses is just amazing, with the random Santa sledding without any reindeer.
And the bright colors too.
Oh, those colors. It was, it always, I remember it from a very young age. And then the song choices, the lyrics really appeal to a kid.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of my Christmas canon 100%, which is on Spotify now, which is huge.
I noticed that. And I went ahead and purchased it from iTunes. And as I was listening to it, I realized the sound quality wasn't great. And so I did my best because, there's like almost nothing on this group. Doing my research, I had like a hard time. I mean, I was like deep Googling the stuff. And so I discovered there was this one website where a man had digitized them himself, because apparently they were available on iTunes for a bit, taken down like almost immediately. And then someone, not the original company or anybody, that just someone else put them up. And so that's why the sound quality is like kind of poorer.
Yeah.
They did it themselves. And it's you can definitely tell that it's just not, the normal standard Apple, what is it, 256 kilobytes or whatever per second, whatever it is. It's definitely not. But at the same time, I kind of like that, because it's almost like listening to it on an old vinyl.
It is that YouTube that you sent over. I just want to make sure the songs, that it sounded the same, and it sounds like it.
Yeah, sure. It's the strangest thing. And I guess it's because he recorded it from his vinyl that it made it work. So I really dug that.
What I did years ago, you remember when those the record players with the tape deck and the CD player,
Oh yeah,
CD recorder first came out?
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of those for this because I wanted it as a CD. So I have one of those really awful quality CDs.
Nice.
I have to admit, Jerry, I have spent way more money on this Caroleers record than I really should have.
Well,
I know those things are like,
yeah,
I know those things. And it's the only thing I ever took the record player to make a CD from. The only one.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was literally, and then they're like $70-$80 now, but they were not so cheap
at
when
the time.
It first came out.
I remember because I wanted one to get my dad for Christmas because he has like all tons of obscure like Tejano artists that I've never heard of in my life from like the 60s and 70s, and so he wants to put those, like he wants to digitize those. And I remember they came out, and I quickly changed my plan to get him like a theology book or something. It was cheaper. So
I think I could do more now. They've got if your dad's still into it, they've got the record players that have the USB out.
I've seen those, yeah. And I think actually my brother got him one, which is kind of cool. At least I hope he did. Otherwise, I know what I'm getting him for Christmas this year. But
I think I'm going to
Dad, I hope you're not listening.
I think I'm going to get one of those because, when you pull this into, because there are, again, even the quality on sound on Spotify is not great, but I can do at least a little bit of cleanup in an Audition or something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some noise reduction and a few gates you can throw on there that kind of clean it up. But I've never been great at that. So, definitely I'll hit you up if I need.
We can do it.
Okay, so the Caroleers, it seems like they not only did they go by the name Caroleers, but they kind of went through a few other names. So there was like Christmas Caroleers, Carolier Singers. I think there was even 2 or 3 more. And
Peter Pan Carolers,
Peter Pan Caroleers. Essentially, they were just the studio band for Peter Pan Records, which was a subsidiary of Synthetic Plastics Corporation, which was started in the 1920s. And they realized kind of in the late 1940s that they could modify their machines enough that they could start producing records. Mm-hmm. And that's how they got into the record game. And the other thing they realized was that they could get away with like knockoff or like tribute covers of these songs without having to pay royalties if they marketed them straight to kids, and not for like radio play. And so their main market was like at drugstores and discount shops and stuff like that, because they knew that they wouldn't have to pay royalties. And they literally, these kind of off the books sales weren't kept track of by the RIAA. And so no one really knows, but it's suspected that they sold about as many copies as Bing Crosby did of his records. So that's saying something back, for this tiny little company that doesn't really know much, with just these no-name singers that came in and just they didn't get any royalties off of it. They just would get a flat rate to come in and record and then take off, and they're not, credited at all. So, this whole thing was it was crazy to me. And I realized that in the 1950s, they were at their heyday, and the only company that was bigger than them later on was Walt Disney Records. Mm-hmm. And they kind of did the same thing, of course, with their own songs, which I thought was amazing. Just because, you have all these groups and big labels, and these guys were just killing it. And like you said, it's not like they're innovating anything. They're just good music that you want to hear in the styles that you kind of want to hear it. And they're actually, I really enjoyed it. I was, like I said, I was really pleasantly surprised. So I wanted to thank you about that. But how does this all connect to the 80s? I want to mention this before we get into the music, because it kind of really doesn't, except for the fact that you and a few other people listened to it in the 80s, which is cool. And to me, that counts. But if you want to get technical, they, in 76, because in the 70s, they started kind of cracking down on this whole thing about, these royalty-free millions. And so they got away from doing these, and they started producing what I like to call a different kind of cover, which was of Disco Duck. They created their own character called Irwin the Disco Duck, based off of that Rick Dees hit Disco Duck. And yes, he does look surprisingly a lot like Donald Duck, but with different hair, like 70s hair. And they started producing all these records. And in the 80s, in 1979 especially, he came out with a Christmas album. And then they lasted all the way up until 1980. But besides that, they also had a few other labels that they kind of marketed more towards the adults. And sometimes they would throw the Carolier singers on those as well. And those kind of lasted all the way up until the 80s. But so that's our 80s connection there. I just wanted to toss that out there before we really got into this music, because it doesn't really sound anything 80s at all.
It's true. It's true. You know, I didn't know a lot about the Caroleers or the connection to Peter Pan players and the Tinkerbell
yeah,
label that SBC had created. But I will say, I started noticing right before, when we started our adoption process, when my wife's got a shop, and part of her shop is predominantly handmade, but there's some vintage in there. So we go to
nice,
or we did go to estate sales a lot. And you would always see these kids' albums, these kids' records, and every one of them had a picture of Peter Pan in the middle. And then there are some that suddenly, that a little later were Walt Disney. I had assumed they were connected. I mean, it was Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, all geared towards kids. They were very much trying to capture that Disney vibe. I don't think that would fly today, what they were doing.
Probably not. There was a lot less oversight back then. A lot of loopholes, actually, copyright stuff.
There was. But now you can go to an estate sale and you can even get their record player, the little Peter Pan.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Because I remember the record players. I didn't remember the records until I saw the label again. And then things were starting to pop back in my mind. And I actually found some old record and comic books, because one of their subsidiaries was Power Records, and they would license a lot of like DC and Marvel and Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff like that, off the wall kind of stuff. And of course they competed with others, and they also, like, Buena Vista was another one, and Kids Stuff was another one, like all these. But I ended up finding a couple here that just, I don't know, I thought was kind of cool. I had no idea who they were or whatever, but it's by that same company, Peter Pan and Power Records. And
that was the brand of record player I had as a kid. I had a record player as a kid too. It was old, but I think most of us probably did, right? In the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, I was just my dad's, but yeah, I mean,
I had one of the little kid ones because, kids are somewhat abusive to things. Or maybe it was just me. I did have a propensity from a young age to break things. So I also developed a propensity pretty early on to start fixing things.
Oh, I got you. Nice. No, I was told right away that Dad would put it on for me, and I could just sit and listen to it and read the book that came with it or whatever. And apparently one of my favorites was Ebony and Ivory, and I would just sit in front of the record player and just listen to it over and over and over again, which I thought was kind of cool. I love that tune.
That's so funny, man.
But yeah, these songs, and there's a few of them here. Most of them are standard. They're like 1-4-5, and then you throw in like a minor 6 in there somewhere, chord progressions, pretty standard. But there's a few that I think, if they had been just orchestrated a little differently, I think they would have been like major hits, like for real. I mean, there's a few that are just that good. And I really wish that like they'd put in a little bit more money or even tried to sell the song to someone. I think they would have had even more millions than they actually raked in. But
I do too. The music is great. I mean, it's so warm. Everything on this album feels like Christmas.
Yeah,
it could be nostalgia. I don't know. You don't have that nostalgia factor, does it?
I don't know. There's a few that are a little off the wall, but most of them for me hit. And you're right. It's because I think they're familiar chord progressions, they're familiar phrasing. The melodic structure is again, it's really similar to stuff of not only of the era, but a little bit of a few decades before. And so it all kind of fits. Like I could see Bing Crosby singing "Icicles, Holly, Red Berries, and Snow." There's what's that guy that sings "Nothing for Christmas"? I could see him doing "I Want an Elephant for Christmas."
He was involved with the Caroleers, right?
Was he? I didn't know. I did not know that.
it's really random that you would call him out. Again, the information on the Caroleers is so hard to find. You go to these really random, obscure websites.
Yep.
But I'm going to go on and treat all of them as though they are well-researched canon.
Yes, I agree. Because what other choice do we have?
His name was Bobby Stewart.
That's it, Bobby Stewart. Yeah.
And Bobby Stewart was supposedly he did stuff with the Caroleers.
Nice. Well, I know I did find one of the female vocalists, Toby Dean. You know, she was a comedian as well, and she mastered several different voices. And so on some of the solo tracks, that's actually her singing, I believe. So that's like the most I could find. Most of these are just, it's a shame that it's just kind of, you know, consigned to the dustbin of time. I mean, it's.
Well, we're bringing it back.
Yeah, man, let's do it. I'm
bringing
down.
Caroleers back. Yeah.
Sure. Let's. I do my best JT impression here, but that's okay.
I just did mine. So
bringing Caroleers back. No, it doesn't fit. Oh well.
It doesn't. It doesn't have that right.
No, sure doesn't. But
I'm bringing Christmas back. That just feels wrong.
Yeah, I'm not cutting that. By the way, that's staying in.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. So I want to go through the songs, but a couple other tidbits of information that I thought were really cool. So Power Records, that was like the sister to Peter Pan Records, they had some of their album artwork was done by Neil Adams, which was really cool. Neil Adams of Batman and comic book fame. Really? Yeah, and there's a website I found where you can actually see some of his drawings on some of these albums, and I mean, it's really cool. It really is. I'll post that up on whenever this episode drops as well. That's awesome. It's like, wow, not only did he do Batman, but he did one of your favorite childhood Christmas memories. So, I can't say that. So that's awesome. So point Tom right there. But so their most famous album, because they had a few Christmas albums, one of them was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and that album was mostly standards, Jingle Bells, Rudolph, things like that. But their most famous album, which surprisingly was the one that you're actually holding up right in front of me, is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Now, you would think with a name like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, it would be, well, a lot of covers, but no, it's actually just that one, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and all the rest are all original tunes, which I really dig. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, no one really does that. And so to me, it was like a breath of fresh air, not to hear another version of, Let It Snow or something like that. Right. Not a lot of information, and I'm not super familiar with these, so I'm going to rely on some of your knowledge here. But, of course, we start off strong with Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That one's pretty straightforward. Standard. Yeah, pretty standard. I do like they kind of split in the verse back and forth between like the female voices and then the deep baritone of anonymous singer. I'm so sorry, whoever you are. But yeah, I'm going to call you singer number one, I guess, or baritone singer. I'll call you Barry the baritone. Barry the baritone. I like it. So Barry comes in right away. And I mean, it's cool because it's a cool contrast between those female voices as well as you're going through them. And it's just something that, again, you don't normally hear. It's Santa Claus is pretty much, a single voice. I mean, even when the Jackson 5 did it, it's mostly it's mostly Michael. When the Pointer Sisters did it, it's all of them singing in harmony. It's not like they went back and forth between the different registers and things like that. So I thought that was a nice touch. It is. And the really hokey instruments to go along with it. It sounds very Cracker Jack box. It does. It just sounds like a cracker, like what you get in your Cracker Jacks little instruments. But again, I'm just instantly feel like a child again. That's awesome. And it's holding up for kids. Ellie loves it. It is, because I played it for my son. I had to go run an errand and help my in-laws with their computer this afternoon. And so knowing that I was going to be recording tonight, I went ahead and I've been listening to it as much as I can. And as we drove, my son was cracking up with the, who's that up on the roof one? That was like his favorite. Who's that up on the roof? Yeah, that one was like his favorite. So he's like, why did he say no fair. And I mean, he just started just asking me all sorts of questions about the song. And of course, we'll get more into it when we get to that one. But I mean, you're right. It holds up. Now, as far as instrumentation, to me, it sounds very much that late 60s, early 70s kind of folk rock kind of group. So not so much like Crosby, Stills and Nash, but almost, what's their name? Skyrockets in Flight, Afternoon Delight group. Yeah, it's kind of got that vibe to it, where it's definitely starting to stray more to the rock style of the 70s. It's not quite psychedelic rock, but it's still
Starland vocal.
That's it. Yeah, Starland vocal a little bit. It's got a little bit of that vibe to it. But some of the theatrics, like the different voices on Santa Claus is Coming to Town, is almost very much like straight out of the 50s. Like I could see a jazz group doing that.
Yep.
And so I thought that was really cool that they kind of blend those two things. But you're right. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it like hits.
It's really surprising. I imagine royalties have to be super cheap. I'm really surprised we don't hear some of these songs when we're out, shopping at Christmas time.
Yeah, and I think
perfect background.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. I wonder if it's because of the quality or if it's because they kind of stopped doing it like in the early 70s, to focus on some of their other aspects like the disco duck, which is so strange to me, but
The disco duck. I'm that up.
Yeah, Irwin the Disco Duck.
It sounds terrible.
So I listened to the album, what I could find of it, and I mean it's all disco songs. It really is. But it's called Irwin the Disco Duck Christmas and New Year's Party. Man, that's their Christmas album there.
He does look like a straight up ripoff of Donald Duck with hair.
Right? And the girl looks just like Daisy. I mean, it's
just totally, like Daisy Duck.
It's Daisy Duck with like 70s hair. I mean, so,
my gosh. This is amazing.
Apparently, Walt Disney was not so litigious at the time, I suppose. Or they thought they had nothing to fear because this is all just straight up disco. But I don't know.
Even in the 70s, Walt Disney knew disco would die.
They're like, no, we're not worried about that. Yeah. So I was listening to some of those, and to me, those don't hold up as much as these do, because there is these ones sound more nostalgic, and not just because you grew up with it. Because I mean, I obviously didn't, but just the instrumentation, the whole vibe, and honestly, it could be again because of the shoddy recording quality, but just the recording quality, and because of that, it just feels more nostalgic.
Well, that nostalgia that it evokes, I think the reason that holds up and why it works so well is because that's something we all are taught from a young age to long for at Christmas, right? There's that. Yeah.
Bygone days.
Yes. The days where everything was better.
Halcyon. Yeah. Yeah, Dwayne and from Tinsel Tunes and I were talking about that, and we were talking about Last Christmas, and the chord structure and the melodic structure was actually based. I mean, there was I think over 60 different other tunes, folk tunes and popular tunes that use that same kind of structure, and so it evokes a bygone era. And even though it wasn't something that we grew up with, because our parents did it. They longed for it, which made us long for it, and that kind of thing. I mean, you said yourself it was your grandma's album.
Yep.
So I mean, it makes sense. But that's so right away we start off with a nice, boom, we get into it, and then it kind of takes it down a notch with the "Where is Christmas? It's in Your Heart."
Yep. It's that. So that's the version you listen to, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your record was a little bit different, right? Well, why don't we do this? Let's go down the track list just to make sure that we're all because we can go in your order. I'm fine with going in your order.
No, we can go with this. I just want to pull up my notes so they're the right ones. Where is Christmas? It's in your heart. It's such a pleasant song.
It is.
It's got a great message.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminds me of from John Denver and the Muppets.
100%.
When that slow one, and of course,
what is it?
Mike Westfall will kill me right now because I can't think of the name. But and then later on in Muppet Family Christmas, Robin sings it when they're doing their big sing along at the end. It's in heaven, something like that. Anyway, it's got that same kind of sweet, saccharine, sentimental feel that.
Saccharine, that's what I was looking for.
It's just a nice, pleasant song that it kind of it. At least for me, in this particular one, I was listening to the one with the red cover, where you were listening to the blue cover album.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same songs, just different order. Because that's the other thing, they released and re-released the albums a few times over the decades. In fact, there's even a version
just change the songs around
with a green cover. There's even one with, so it hey, why not? If you can do it, just do it.
I mean, if you're making money, you might as well beat the dead horse, right?
Exactly. Yeah, might as well.
Was it the Peace Carol? Was that the one we're talking about?
Yeah, that's
Peace
it.
Carol?
Yeah.
I had to go look at the song list because I'm like, I know what it is, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. And I was like, I know it's something, but that's not it. It's not those first words. But yeah, that's it. So I enjoyed the second song. I thought it was really sweet, but it wasn't quite my favorite of all of them.
I agree, but I'm not gonna. But it's not the one from this album. I'm gonna fast forward either.
Exactly. Yeah, there is one. There's like 2 or 3 for me that was like, what are they? I don't understand. But no, that one was nice. It was a nice seg. Now for me, on the Red album, the one that I really like is Gonna Hang Up My Stocking and Fill It.
Gonna hang up my stocking and fill it full of glee?
Dreams.
Dreams. Yeah, fill it full of dreams.
Fill it full of dreams. Yeah.
See, that's the other hard thing is there's so many of these songs I've memorized as a kid, and as a kid, you don't really worry about the lyrics so much.
No, you always say, yeah. Yeah.
Fill it full of dreams.
So that, again, yeah, that's a nice, just up-tempo one. It's got like a nice backbeat, and it's like, it's almost like a polka kind of beat to it, but it's not a polka. It's just got a nice backbeat with the guitar hitting the syncopated beats, So it's kind of neat, slightly distorted tone there. So you can tell it's like tube amps, nothing crazy. None of the great stuff that, we have now where you can just everything at a touch of a button. No, I mean, this was like back in the day, and it's fun. It's up tempo. It drives. I like driving tunes, especially at Christmas. That's why I really love Jingle Bells, and especially the Bing Crosby version, because it kind of pushes through, or Kay Thompson's Jingle Bells, because that one's really
love those Jingle bells. That one. Bing
no, that's Frank Sinatra's version.
Oh, that's Frank.
But I like that one too. That's another. I guess I just like Jingle Bells, but
that Frank Sinatra version is my favorite because I like the way they play with something completely different.
Yeah. I loved for me, I like and again, I know we're getting off topic, but it's not a podcast if you don't go off topic. So I love the Bing Crosby one with the Andrews sisters.
Yeah.
Their harmony, and then how they kind of, they take it in almost like a halftime feel. They augment the melody. And then my other one is the Kay Thompson's Jingle Bells that I really like, because they throw in all sorts of different things that is out there. And it's also up tempo. So again, with that driving tempo, which I liked in this Gonna Hang Up My Stocking.
Hang Up My Stocking, and it's probably a bit too on the nose. It's on our Christmas tree decorating playlist.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we listen to this when we're decorating the tree. Is
it a special playlist that you put together, or is it just the album?
No. I have a playlist for tree decorating.
Okay, nice. What else is on it? Maybe another one from this album?
Oh, yeah, there are a few from this album. A few of them make it. The Christmas Tree That Ran Away made it because...
I was about to ask, yeah.
It's the only Christmas song I know where the Christmas tree sings.
Yeah, there's that Nat King Cole song. Was it the Happiest Christmas Tree or something like that? That's a good one.
Gosh, I haven't heard that in probably 20 years, man.
I think that's it. It's something like that. The happiest or the jolliest. Oh gosh, that's going to kill me now.
The Happiest Christmas Tree.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one too. But that's the only other one I can think of that has a Christmas tree in it.
I just added to the Christmas tree decorating playlist.
Nice.
So now I can say I have both Christmas tree singing songs that I know of.
Oh man, I like that, the Christmas tree there anyway. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Again, not really a whole lot to say for me on going to hang up my stockings and fill it full of dreams. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you?
It's just that innocent, like getting excited that you've got that Christmas nostalgic feel that, you know, it's coming. It's finally here. It's that we had the rule when I was growing up. My granddad was very emphatic that we didn't decorate before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And it was usually the weekend after Thanksgiving. So, I know that feeling like I'm going to fill up my stocking. It's going to be so exciting. Nice. It's just captured, you know?
Yeah. I completely understand. For me, I actually really like this next tune because I feel like 1,000,000%, if they had done like full orchestra, Bing Crosby version of it, or even a Frank Sinatra version of it, I think it would have killed. This is the one that in particular I was talking about that I think they would have made like a lot of money on. I mean, you know, of course they already made a lot of money, but I think they would have done even better, and they would have cemented it as a classic if they had like just spent a little money on orchestrations and you know, things like that, like big budget things. I mean, I wouldn't mind giving it a try, just orchestrating in that style. The icicles, holly, red berries, and snow.
That should be a Christmas classic. That one is not a kid's. That's the one on here that's not really for kids. That's a legitimate Christmas song.
It is, yeah, and it's a great song. And I mean, I can see like one of those classic or several classic crooners just taking it and going with it, you know, and with proper backing vocals and getting that nice tight harmony. I think this song would have been right up there with like Silver Bells and some of those other classics that we hear that were written around the same era. And so to me, it's a shame that they just were like, oh, it's a great song, let's just do it, you know. Let's go straight through.
And that chorus is very catchy. For this is Christmas. For this is Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight is the night. I mean, we could all sing that, but it's just the voice they have for it is not a croon. It's a little over the top.
Yeah.
Cheesy, unemotional singer, but it's a great. The lyrics though are so much fun.
That was one thing I did notice, is that it was hard to find lyrics for these. I tried looking online and I couldn't. There was only a few, and even then, some of them were not the same versions. They were other people's. Other people how they remembered it
when they were kids.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, which one is it? But I love this. I mean, just everything that they talk about, you know, all these different evocative images, you know, they're going through it, and it's just, it makes me think of, because, you know, I work at the Christmas store, and so it makes me think of like being in our store, and everything is just like, it's in wintertime and it's cold outside, and you come in and just the lights are there, and there'll be, you know, hot coffee or hot chocolate sometimes out there, and it's great. And I just, oh man, I get that. I get the warm feeling, you know, the what do you guys say? The Christmas feels. I get the Christmas
feels.
Yeah. From that one, it hits me right in the feels there. So
I think you're right. I think I'm going to have to take time and get get some official Caroleers lyrics out there for people.
Yeah. I mean, it was a shame, because I especially for our later segment, I was trying my best to get some of these lyrics. I hope I did okay, but we'll see. I might be, you know, 6-year-old Tommying it, but
hey, you know, the thing is, nobody's heard this record, so
that's true. They don't know. These are all the right lyrics, folks. Oh man.
But yeah. I think the chorus, it says it all. Like you said, it's very much bringing you into a Christmas experience.
Yeah.
With words. And like you said, if they had the right music backing it, and they had a good voice, like, you know, if Michael Bublé were to do this, or Harry Connick Jr. were to do this today,
oh man,
can
you imagine
a number one hit?
Yep, I agree completely. like 1,000,000% I agree. It's really good. And you're right. This is because a lot of the songs on this were, I mean, because their whole thing was to market towards children. A lot of these songs are a little more silly and, fun. They're fun. And this one it's really not. It's more, sentimental but at the same time, it's not that sappy sentimental. It's more of the it's Christmas time, guys. Let's get into it a bit, kind of a feel. Yep. Those aren't the words, by the way. Those aren't the lyrics. Oh man. So the next one on the Red album was Who's That Up on the Roof, which was my son's favorite that I mentioned earlier. He really enjoyed. I mean, he's almost 4, and he really enjoyed this one.
It's so silly.
It is, and again, I love it because it starts off like the little kid is like, "Yeah, I know there's no such thing," and whatever, and then it's like, "Wait, I know Dad's down there in the suit kissing Mom. That's just Dad." And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Wait, but who's that on the roof?" And they talk about the reindeer and all that stuff as well, but it's sung, and I think this was Toby Dean singing it, doing that little girl voice as well, or little kid voice, I suppose. And it contrasts later on, and this is my favorite part. I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but later on when Santa starts singing, "Hey, who's that down there?" and they have like a little back and forth between Santa and the little kid, and I love it. It's so fun. And my son was he was asking me at bedtime to put it on, so I think you'd be proud of that.
Oh, that's a win. That's a win.
Yep. So as I was sitting with him tonight, we were, normally I play some tunes or I'll sing something for him. And but when I record, I try to save my voice for the actual recording. So I was going to play something for him. And then he asked if he wanted to hear it. And I thought, okay, sure. And then that's when he asked, how come they say it's not fair? And so I had to explain, well, because Santa says, the whole song is the little kids asking, "Who's that on the roof?" And then Santa says, "Well, who's that down there?" And the little kid says, "No fair, I asked first." It's
really funny.
It is. And again, it's up tempo, so kids like it. It's kind of happy, and you can it's got the same kind of vibe. Again, they're all very basic in their chord structure, so they're not like a lot of those late 40s, early 50s jazz kind of standards, like the Christmas songs where you have all sorts of 2/5 ones and like flat fives and things like that in there. It's just a nice 1/4/5, and then you throw in like maybe a minor 2 or minor 6 here and there, and you call it a day. But it's got a nice familiar structure, and it's just something that sounds very much like The Wheels on the Bus or Old MacDonald, or something that a kid can really get into. You know what I mean? And I'm not denigrating those songs at all. Those are good songs, and they're actually best songs for kids to learn. So that's why I kind of like this. It's got the same kind of, they emphasize the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 scale tones a lot, which I really liked as well.
I like the homage. You can tell it. I guess not an homage because it was written at that time point, bad verbiage. But I like the fact that there's that shout out to this wonder of space too that gripped the world in the late 50s through the 60s. Where Santa's coming from outer space.
Outer space, yeah. There's another. What's that other one that does that? You Better Watch Out. I think the opening is about I just came in from the Milky Way. Yeah. So yeah, I may or may not be doing that later.
Oh, that's the one you're gonna do?
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, yeah, I do think it's funny. It's very like 50s B movie, it's outer space, but then also 60s, the whole space race kind of a thing. So it was also relevant then,
Yep.
Although I gotta say, I've never once associated Santa with like outer space personally. So
you didn't watch Santa and the Martians?
That one was much later. I didn't grow up with that, so it wasn't until later.
Even the two references to space in this didn't strike me as being space when I was a kid.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
So I still didn't associate it with space. Yeah. Because I mean, the idea of Santa going into space is just ridiculous. How are the reindeer going to breathe?
Exactly. Yeah, we know. Well, I don't know. Maybe that magic feed corn gives them like an oxygen field or something. I'm sure we could find some way to comic book this up, but
I think we'll both like ourselves a little less in the morning if we do.
I think I agree. I think, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, again, that's one that I think if I was a kid listening to it, I would have really loved that song. And it's definitely one of my favorites on here. But so far, out of all of them, my favorite was that Icicles, Holly, Red Berries, and Snow.
For sure.
Yeah, that one, as an adult, I'd say that's definitely my favorite. Now, here's a strange one. And I'm going to let you take over on this one. It's, at least on the Red album, the next one was The Weatherman's Christmas Prayer.
When I said there was one, I would skip every time. This is it.
This is it? Okay.
It never really...
It didn't quite land, right? Yeah.
No. I don't really feel this. It's got like a country twang feel to it, you know?
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm.
Like the cheesy, hokey attempt at, like that time, you know, not going back to old country like Hank Williams and Loretta Lynn, but sort of that, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't work with me at all. I don't know why the weatherman is concerned about what Santa's bringing in his bag, why he wants Santa to fill up his bag.
I don't know.
There's just no context here at all. And maybe it's just me, but I've never really thought, you know, I wonder what the Los Angeles weatherman is dreaming about this year at Christmas. That's just never been something that's hit me.
Nope, not once.
So I feel like they're answering a question here that nobody's asked.
I got to say, that's probably a lot of Christmas Hallmark movies, though. Answering questions nobody asked. And I think, honestly, on this recording, the ones from iTunes, I think this is the one with the poorest sound quality to me. So I wonder if that's also has something to do with it. It sounds like there was a lot of energy and like that particular wavelength, that particular frequencies that are a little jarring to the ear. And I don't know if it was just scratched or if that's the way it was recorded, but something about it just doesn't, like it wasn't really mixed and mastered very well. And
it wasn't, it peaked, the sound peaks too much in his voice.
Yeah.
That's the recording.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah.
It's
definitely
not
very
balanced.
Yeah, Barry, I'm sorry, man, but yeah, your baritone, it's a nice voice, but it's just a little too thorough Ravenscroft.
It is.
Just taking the tiniest dose of like helium, you know.
that especially when it goes at the end where he ends on that really deep right here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's overly theatric.
Yeah.
Again, we've got a character and a subject that doesn't necessitate any theater.
Right.
Or really any attention.
Well, and I'm wondering, like, this, it's just an odd choice to pick for like an album aimed for children. Like,
right.
Do children really care about weathermen? I mean,
well, I think we missed out on it because where we grew up, but I know kids are a lot more interested in the weathermen where there's snow. Like, am I going to have school? Are we going to have a white Christmas? Maybe that's where it's coming from.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, in South Texas, you know, it's green.
We turn it on. Oh, like, crap, there's another hurricane coming.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Or
if our weatherman's taking over, it's not good.
Yeah, it's going to be another hot day, and it's Christmas, and it's in the 70s, and or some years in the 80s, you know, and that was considered winter. It's crazy. But
that's the other thing Christine couldn't believe is that, you know, I grew up with more Christmases than I care to count wearing shorts.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, always
Which
shorts.
Is horribly depressing.
Because you grew up in Houston, right?
Houston, yep. So this several years ago, my nephew was pretty young, so it was probably 12 or 13 years ago. We were driving to Houston. No, it was more recent than that. Anyway, we were driving in to Houston, and my mom's on the phone calling me, freaking out because it's going to snow. There's snow coming. We have to drive carefully because of snow. And it's like, well, you know, live in Tulsa. I'm no stranger to snow and ice. We'll be fine. We get there are a few snowflakes falling, and they're all excited about this white Christmas coming.
I mentioned this on another episode, but it was my, I think, junior or senior year in high school, and I was in band class, and all of a sudden I heard someone, it's snowing, and we run inside, and it's snow flurries, that like melted as soon as they touched the ground. It was barely anything, but we were so excited to see snow. That's how little snow we got. And you can't even really count it, honestly. It doesn't count.
What year did you graduate?
98.
Okay.
I'm like a year older than you, I think, a year or two.
I was remembering because I was trying to remember. I think it was freshman year, and we all went outside. We got the same thing in Houston, and we all went outside.
Nice.
All the teachers let everybody go outside to see snow.
Yeah, it wasn't until like the early to mid 2000s, and I was living in Houston, and then I went down to see my folks for Christmas, and it actually snowed on Christmas Eve that year. I don't remember if it was like 05 or 06 or something like that.
Gloria adios.
So that was pretty nice. Yeah. I was like, whoa. And I remember driving to church, and it was just, it was actually like there was snow on the ground. It was white. You could see white on the roofs. And it was just, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I've only seen like maybe 2 or 3 more times, and that's up here in DFW area. So that's about it for us. And
yeah. In DFW though, snow is dangerous.
Yeah, yes, it is. Mostly because, as Texans, like you mentioned, we don't know how to drive on snow and ice.
No. And, nobody slows down or, they continue to tailgate. I know we drove through sleet and snow once in Dallas, and I swear I was never going to go through a city in the South again while it was snowing or raining or sleeting.
Yeah, definitely. Snow is one thing. Ice, yeah, definitely don't go. Oh man. But the next song again on this album, this version is The Day Before the Night Before Christmas. The day before the night before Christmas. Yeah. It's just a nice little fun, and it's one of those where you can just kind of bob your head side to side and I mean and I was trying to think, the melody reminded me of something recent that I heard, and I can't put my finger on what it is. And I know as soon as we stop talking, I'm going to remember it. But it's... Are
you got an addendum to the end of the episode?
Probably. Oh, I know what it is. I remember now. It's from the Community Christmas episode, the Glee episode, when Annie is dressed in the, she comes out dressed in the Santa Claus, and she's trying to seduce Jeff.
Yep.
That melody right there is very, very similar.
Huh.
I think so, like Bwayne Hoodie Understandy Christmas or something like that.
That was so incredibly disturbing. Everything with Annie and Jeff was disturbing.
It was. It made me laugh though.
Oh, it does. I like whoever it was in this that was whistling had a strong whistle game.
That was nice. They did. Yeah. You don't get a lot of that. And most of the time, like Bing Crosby, of course, he's known for doing his good whistles. But most of the time, whenever someone whistles, it's like, it's almost always, at least in my understanding, it's almost always one of the same few people over and over again, that they'll just come in,
really?
A studio musician to come in and whistle for something. I mean, of course there are exceptions, but a lot of whistling is done like that. And so you're right. They really had that. But I have to ask, are they talking about Christmas Eve or the 23rd? Because I think either one would be a kind of a valid...
I think it's Christmas Eve.
That's what I thought too. But, we were talking about taking some deep dives on obscure websites to try to find any information on them. And there was one where people were arguing back and forth about...
It's debated.
23rd or 24th. And I mean, that's that's kind of cool to have that kind of staying power, even, this far removed, and it's so obscure, and yet people still are arguing with, because there's a case that they could be talking about the 23rd. It's the day before the night before Christmas, if we're talking a whole day. But to me, it makes more sense, especially since the whole point is about, him trying to get as much good as he can, even though he's probably doesn't make any difference. It makes more sense to talk about December 24th, Christmas Eve, like during the daytime. And then there's the night before Christmas.
That proverbial 11th hour, the 11th hour goodies in.
Exactly, yeah.
The one disturbing part of this, to go a little darker, is this very transactional relationship with Santa that they have. They just flat out say it, be good and he'll be good to you. That's a very, I guess that's what we're telling kids though with Santa, right? That's
true.
The inherent message.
That is true. Yeah. When you think about it, that
Santa will like you and be good to you if you're the person that he thinks you should be.
They're-
Otherwise, you have no value.
They're just a little more blunt with it.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of, I don't know, less creepy than Rankin Bass, the Santa Claus, when he's like, a kiss a toy is the price you'll pay.
Oh yeah, no, no, that one. Ooh.
So I think as much as I love the Rankin Bass, I think I'll take this more transactional view of Santa.
A little more appropriate behavior with children.
There you go. Yeah. Oh man. But this, again, it was another fun, song you can just bob your head to, and I really enjoyed it. But
like I said, the whistling gets me every time.
The whistling?
I just get lost in the whistling.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely could see that. It's nice and melodic, and yeah, it was definitely a very strong game. But now we come to the one that I want to hear you talk about, which is The Christmas Tree That Ran Away.
Love this song.
You showed me earlier, the cover of the Blue album, because it's different from the Red album that I have. And on the Red album, it's just Santa Claus with a snowflake, and there's like a tree in the background, but that's it. It's really just Santa Claus with yellow gloves for some reason, which is kind of an odd thing for me. But in the Blue album, it's actually got a Christmas tree, and it looks like he has a present under his arm. Is that right?
We've got two of them, red and a blue present. Howie Post drew a straight up Christmas tree thief. But he's got this very sinister eyebrows and an evil smile.
Yeah, he's definitely like a trickster. He's like a schemer there.
Which is in no way the Christmas tree in this song.
No, the song is, again, it's really nice and sweet. It's so different than that cover you showed me.
I just have to wonder. I just feel like this song had to be influenced by Charlie Brown.
You think? Yeah, I suppose it could be.
I do, like a rejected, down on its luck Christmas tree, finding love and being exactly what somebody needs later. I don't know.
I guess it had come out by that point. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Mm-hmm.
So in this, you've got that the deep baritone, almost almost Grinchian singing works because it's telling a story. I feel like it works in this song.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's serving as a narrator more so than he's not a character, right?
Right.
So he's telling the story about this poor Christmas tree that's not wanted, and the Christmas tree singing about leaving. But in the end, he finds this family that can't afford a Christmas tree. And this is his loving family that he finds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they welcome him. And the whole end of it is like, he goes throughout the whole song, he's singing, "Nobody wants me, and I'm going to run away." And at the end, he's like, "Somebody wants me, and somebody loves me." And yeah, it's just, and it's got interesting sounds throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a random train whistle.
Yeah. I don't understand that, but okay.
And then they've got the weird humming.
Again, it's like a lot of, this is another one that I think could have been another really good tune if it had the right orchestrations. Like, I'm thinking this song, sung by Nat King Cole, with the same style of orchestration as his, some of his more popular ones, like the Christmas song, or even the Happiest Christmas Tree. Again, I mean, I think this really could have sold it. So it's just it kind of bugs me, like I'm getting a little angry that they didn't like take advantage and they didn't just throw a little bit more money into it. And this could have been like the classic, and they would have been remembered and everything. But I guess then they probably would have had to pay royalties to the families of the performers and the writers. And so I mean, I get it. It's just like, oh man, if they had just, instead of looking at just the bottom line, I mean, I think they would have been remembered. They would have had a legacy much better than the one they have now, unfortunately. But
it would have been really cool to see like a Glee Christmas covering this album.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
That would have been really cool.
I was never super into Glee, but I do acknowledge their vocal talents, and I could see how they would really make this album work.
I wasn't into Glee either, but their Christmas episodes were good, and their Christmas music was really good.
Yeah. But don't ask me to name any of them. I can't. I can't.
Did you hear their version of The Grinch?
That one I haven't heard, no. Mm-mm.
I'll send it to you after this. It's really good. And I could see them doing the same exact style with this, but just blowing it out of the water.
Cool. I want to get a copy of Baby Boomer Santa. No, just kidding. Speaking of Glee, but
oh, and the other thing they did was that weird, like that the third weird sound that I remember from this album. There's something that's like a star twinkle from Disney at the end. The ding ding.
I don't remember that. I'll have to listen to it again.
Yeah. They just had weird sound effects in here that I didn't really get.
I think in an effort to, I mean, it sounds like, because, you know, like I mentioned, it's not really like mixed and mastered very well. So I'm wondering if it was just kind of like they got their friend that knows a little bit about recording, and he's like, hey, I got an idea. If we throw all these sounds in, you know, the kids will love it. The kids will love it. And, you know, it's there, because these are great songs. And I firmly do believe that a lot of them could be, you know, hits and really make it if they just had better orchestrations. But anyway.
We've got two of them left. Two of the four left are not good. Do not fall into that category.
Yeah, there's a few.
I'll be interested to see if you agree with me on these two.
So the one that I have next is 364 Days.
That's one of them that I'm talking about. That is just weird.
It is weird.
The aliens.
The aliens. Yeah.
Talking?
I mean, it's got to be aliens, and it's they're like back and forth, you know. And then these Earth people are so weird, and again, that's not the real lyric, but you know, it's just they're talking about 364 days out of the year they're terrible and they do all this bad stuff, and then all of a sudden they're hugging each other and they're nice to each other, and it's an odd thing to put on a Christmas song. I mean, on a Christmas album, but I can see why, because it's for kids. And again, we were talking about that whole space, you know, maybe sci-fi thing. I mean, it seems like, oh yeah, kids will love it. Kids will love it. You know, I mean, I just imagine the guy, producer, you know, like, yeah, you know, maybe with the cigar. Hey, I got an idea. What if we had some aliens back and forth, you know, talking about space and whatever? I mean, it's
right now is where I hear Ron Howard's voice coming over and saying, the kids didn't.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, this one did not hit home for me.
Yeah.
The voice of the alien was just creepy, man.
It was, yeah.
And like they speak English and understand everything, but Christmas is a foreign concept.
Yeah, it's strange.
I'm probably overthinking it.
Well, you're probably putting more thought into it than the the songwriter did. But yeah, that one again, it's kind of strange, but again, they go back to those character kind of a thing where they go back and forth between the two guys talking and trying to understand what's happening. And so, yeah, that one. And then the next one on the album, which I think fares better, is the North Pole Express.
Woo! This one just feels like you're on a train.
It does, yeah. The rhythm guitar. And one thing I did notice about a lot of the orchestrations is I mentioned earlier, there's the guitar playing either the backbeat or just, you know, basic chords or like a very 60s, you know, something like that. Just slight distortion, but they use a lot of Hammond B3 organ, which I thought was kind of strange. There's a lot of Hammond in there. And so to me, every time I hear a Hammond, I think of like psychedelic rock. I think of like progressive rock, prog rock, you know, and then of course they go into Moogs and stuff like that. But I mean, I have a very specific genre that I think of whenever I hear a Hammond, you know, or sometimes even gospel music. And so to hear it in this kind of a setting was odd. But they do that driving, you know, the almost like a swings, you know, to kind of make that train go. And that's pretty standard fare for like songs that talk about trains.
Yep. It feels very 1940s, 50s to me.
It does, yeah. Just with different
early rock and roll,
different instrumentation. Yeah.
Yep. Like it should, like I would think of it as if it had a piano, just with that upright bass that you hear there and the guitar. Mm-hmm. I think if it were the piano instead of that organ, it would have a very like early Elvis feel to it.
Yeah, I could see that, like real boogie woogie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I could, or rockabilly kind of a thing. And I think that
You
could
just use boogie woogie in a sentence as a grown man. I'm impressed. Kept a straight face.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it. I'll take my ribbon.
No, I really am impressed. I don't think I could have pulled that off.
Oh, I got that. Well, that is a style. That's an actual style. So I can say it without.
It is. It is.
No, so again, I like that one. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing amazing about it, but it's just a good song. And then that leaves the last two. One of them, which is, it's clearly more inspired by like the novelty type songs, which is "I Want an Elephant for Christmas."
Oh, this is a straight ripoff of "I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas."
Exactly.
100%.
And it's funny because there's even a line in it that says something like, "If I can't have an elephant, I'll take a hippopotamus
instead."
Yep. And then towards the end, I think he even starts trying to say, or a rhinoceros, or
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely, you're right. I was trying to be nice, but no, you're right. It's just a straight ripoff of it.
It's a straight ripoff. I mean, they didn't even try. Like you said, they even sing about a hippopotamus. They're not even trying.
And again, they have Toby Dean singing more of the little kid voice that she does so well.
There's this weird I don't know. People can't see what I'm doing, but it's got this weird weird. I don't know how to describe it musically, but it's just got a weird feel for a kid song.
Well, visual bits always kill on the audio medium of podcasting.
They do. But it feels like somebody who would be sauntering out on a stage, right?
Yeah,
it's a sauntering sound, which is not something I associate with a child's music.
No, or Christmas very much either.
What was it? It's if not a hippopotamus, a rhinoceros. If not a rhinoceros, take a dinosaur instead.
Yeah, something like that. At
the end, she lands on a puppy dog named Sam, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think puppy dog named something. I'll take your word for it and say Sam.
Here's Sam, yeah. And then they call for Sam, yeah. It's a weird song. This is one of those that I'll skip too.
I mean, I didn't mind it as much, but I think it's because it reminded me so much of "I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas." So as soon as it starts off, like I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And so, but it feels odd on this album that has like randomly these real, sentimental, hit you in the Christmas feels kind of songs. It doesn't, there's a weird vibe and it doesn't quite flow to me. But then finally we end with "Thousand Santa Clauses," but not, what is it? Not one gift for me.
Not one gift for me.
Yeah.
It is. This one, I think they went too cheesy. They went too cheesy with the kids, with the attempt to be a kid's voice.
Yeah.
They should either have hired kids for this or not. It's just too much. You know what I mean?
It seems like someone had to have a kid that could sing
right,
relatively in tune, I mean, even on, I just did an episode with Mike and Rusty from Snow and Southtown on a claymation Christmas celebration. And even then, the composer's kids, who are like 9 and 11 years old, sing one of the songs. And so, I mean, it's like, why didn't they just grab someone's kids to sing it? I don't know. I guess she was already there. They're like, let's knock it out or something. Maybe they paid her by the hour, and
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Or maybe they just gave her some hot cocoa and she was good to go.
That would work for me on some days, I tell you.
Most days I would take it.
Yeah. So that's the order on the Red album. Now you had the blue one. What was your order? Because I know it was different.
My order went Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Okay.
The Christmas Tree That Ran Away.
Oh wow! So that one's next. I think that's actually a better seg.
I think mine must be newer because it just seems to flow better. It goes from there to Who's That Up on the Roof?
Okay.
The Day Before, the Night Before Christmas.
Nice.
10,000 Santa Clauses. Gonna Hang Up My Stocking.
Okay.
Where is Christmas?
Oh wow, that's I like that better. Yeah.
I Want an Elephant for Christmas. Then Icicles, Holly, Red Berries and Snow. The Weatherman's Prayer. 364 days in the year, and then the North Pole Express.
Okay. That's a much stronger side A than side B.
It is.
Like much
really
stronger.
Is.
Yeah.
I would spend a lot more time on B. They threw in the icicles on side B, which is good.
Yeah.
But the North Pole Express was always a fun one to end on.
Yeah, I can see that. Because, I mean, especially as a kid, you're like waiting to go see Santa. You're writing your letters to Santa. I mean, it just seems like it would make you at least think about traveling over there, talking with him, getting to see everything. I mean, I would have loved that. I still would love that. I still want to go to the North Pole and see Santa. But since it's too expensive of a flight, I just work at a Christmas store instead.
You pretty much get to live at the North Pole all year.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man.
That's my retirement plan. I'm going to open a Christmas store. That's what we're going to do when I retire, I think.
Nice. I'll come light all your stuff.
I like it.
So that Disco Duck Christmas album, I just want to briefly talk about the tracks because I mentioned that most of them were just pretty straightforward standard tracks. So it starts off with Disco Duck 2, which is probably one of the strangest one. Then Sleigh Ride, Winter Wonderland, Donde Está Santa Claus? That one. Oh, Mamacita, Donde Está Santa? Whatever.
Santa Claus?
Let It Snow, Jingle Bell Rock, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, Up on a Housetop. And then there's like a whole medley of like We Wish You a Merry Christmas and a few others all at the very end. So, I mean, that's a pretty strong album, but only if you're really thinking about standards. So it's not like anything just amazing, it's just well, by the way, the Disco Duck, the voice of the Disco Duck, one of them, is voiced by several, but the most famous one was Don Messick, who did a lot of the Hanna-Barbera voices and is probably best known as Scrappy Doo. So if you hear Irwin, and it kind of sounds a little bit like Scrappy Doo.
It's funny.
But, oh, man. This was cool. I really enjoyed this album, so I want to thank you for bringing it to my attention because I never, ever in a million years would have found it.
It's fun. I like to share this album with people.
Yeah.
Everybody I've shared it with, whether it's they like it or some people have told me it's kind of a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for me, I mean, there's like I'd say a good solid 4 that I really love, and then there's like another 4 that are good, and then there's the other 4 that are if I never hear them again, I'm okay.
Right.
So I mean, it's just so 8 out of 12. That's not bad.
No, that's not for 8 original. Well.
So 11
originals to like 8 of them is pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree.
There are better versions of Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
There are, but I still
I feel like if anybody else did any of these other songs, there would be better versions of them as well. So it's not really a fair thing to say, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. I got to say, so I did an episode with Anthony on Christmas in Hollis, and researching it and hearing about it, I have a new respect for it, even though it's still not my favorite, and I wouldn't put it in my canon. I got to say, in this round, you win, Tom, because there's several that I think I'm putting in my canon. So I'm sorry, Anthony. I still love you, bro, but I gotta include some of these and not Christmas in Hollis. Don't hate me.
Oh.
So you can lord that over him next time you record tomorrow night or whatever.
I got a call from one of my oldest friends. He and I have been close for going on 22 years, I think. He's like, dude, what's your problem with Christmas in Hollis? I don't know if he's just getting caught up or what, but he wasn't very happy with my take on Christmas in Hollis. So
well,
I won't admit that to Anthony, though.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like I said, I have a newfound respect for it, just knowing more about it, but it's not like I have to hear it. It just doesn't say Christmas to me. And no, I mean, that's kind of what Christmas is all about, that kind of nostalgia feels and family. And To me, I just don't get those from that. But
maybe if we had the rage and anger of New Yorkers, we might feel differently.
We might feel differently. But
we're decent human beings in the South.
Uh-oh, the gauntlet has been thrown down. So, Tom, I got to ask, and I know it's going to be hard because you kind of already mentioned a little bit about it, but what would you say is your happiest memory of this album? If you could narrow down one specific event, and if you can, just, in general.
I would have to say it's not going to be my childhood. It's going to be listening to Hang Up My Stocking with Ellie last Christmas as we're putting up the tree and everything. Mm-hmm. And she's like, look, I'm hanging up the ornaments while he's talking about hanging up the stockings. It was just very happy. It's nice to see something that I love from my childhood becoming something that I know she's going to remember from hers now.
Awesome.
Otherwise, it's just when I was growing up, the record player was in my grandparents' bedroom. And I would go there and I'd get to, this was one we played on the big record player. So, but I would always have to dig and find it in there. They had a cabinet full of records that were,
oh yeah,
that felt as tall as I was. I don't know how big they really were, but it felt like they were as tall as I was. And I'd pull them out one by one until I'd get to this one. And then I'd take it and get my granddad to put it on for me. And I'd get to sit in their bedroom on the floor and listen to it. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. For me, because I really didn't know this album at all until like a few days ago. It was right now when I was trying to put my son to sleep and he was just asking me about the song. And he gave me this big goofy smile that he gives me when he's really happy. And so it just, it gave me like all the feels as a father, but also the Christmas feels because it was about, Santa and so it was good. I really enjoyed it. And that would be my memory.
It's one of those things you hope they'll remember too, right?
Right. And he's going to be 4, so I'm sure he's never going to remember that particular moment, but I know he'll remember the song because we're going to be adding it to, we're going to be playing it now. It's funny because, we talked about the Time Life, my brothers and I, and we really love it. And for the longest time, it was like blasphemy to like put any songs in that mix anywhere. And over the years, we've all kind of mellowed a little bit. So I've added like a Solon by Peter, Paul, and Mary, and then a few other songs here and there, just in between, in a certain spot that I think would really help the overall flow. And I can definitely see like 4 or 5 of these songs going in there. So nice.
That is still my favorite episode of yours, hearing your brothers talk about that and getting an idea of what the young Davila boys at Christmas time.
Oh man, it was we had a lot of fun, especially looking through the wish books, and circling everything we wanted. But
man, our kids are not going to understand those.
I know, it's such a shame. It's such a shame because it was like the excitement. You get it; it's there in the mail, and then you just dig through it, and oh man, it was so great. And we would have the Time Life on, but. Nowadays, the closest thing my kids get to that, because Target and Walmart still kind of have like a little teeny tiny little insignificant nothing of a catalog that has that. But the closest they get is the Dream books from Hallmark with the ornaments. Mm. So every year when Hallmark comes out with their new ornaments, we'll get that, and then we'll look through it all together and circle what we want. And so I guess that's like the closest they'll ever get.
Yeah. They won't get the giant phone book size Toys R Us.
No, and I had forgotten because I'm doing an episode on those with Vinny Brzezinski, and I had forgotten they were like 600 or 700 pages.
Yeah,
they were huge.
And you would look at every single page.
Yes. Yeah.
I even looked through the girls' toys because there might be something hidden in there that I wanted, even though it was.
Well, they would do that sometimes, especially in the beginning. There was like they would throw in a few here and there, and then they'd kind of get to like clothes or appliances or things like that. And then again, just like, oh, here's a few things here and there. And so you kind of had
the Sears catalog you're talking now.
I am, right? Yeah. You had to scour through that one, yeah.
You did. You had to look really hard through that one. The Toys R Us was pretty solid all the way through.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Until you get to the baby stuff, and then you'd want to skip past that,
right?
Because what baby's going to read the Toys R Us catalog? That's just ridiculous.
You tell them, Tom.
I will, man. They really got me with that.
Oh, man. Good times. But now we come to my favorite part of the special, which is a segment I like to call Gag Me with the Spoon. So this is where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of the, in this case, the album. And then we let you listeners vote on who had the best. Now, Tom, I know you already have some stickers, so I'll come up with some other.
No. I am just really happy for a good opportunity to come talk to you. That is it.
Okay, well.
And bragging rights to tell Anthony I wanted something.
Okay. Well, then in that case, listeners, you can still vote, and the winner will get something. And maybe it's just bragging rights. I don't know. But anyway, as the guest go, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set up which song you're going to do. And
so it's the worst one on here, right?
Yeah, right. Your least favorite. Yeah.
My least. That's tough, man.
Oh, I know. I understand.
Which one are you doing? I don't want to. You've thought about this. I don't want to step on yours.
For me, because I couldn't figure out a lot of the lyrics, I wanted to be able to just pull the lyric, and I couldn't find them online. So for me, I ended up doing "Who's That Up on the Roof?" But this one particular part that always bugged me about Santa.
I'm black and blue, and my face is red, and my face is green as day. And I'm the weatherman who said it's going to snow on Christmas Day. Only trouble is out here in Southern California. It hasn't snowed in 100 years or more on Christmas Day. Okay, I'm going to stop there because that's
nice. No, I dig it. So for me, I love the song. I really did like the song, but the part about Santa coming from space and who's that up on the roof? That got me. Because everyone knows he's from the North Pole. So
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
So the little kid in me wanted to, even though there were worse songs on this album, it wanted to veto that. So who's that up on the roof? Who's that up on the roof? Big red suit, white beard on his face, zooming in from outer space. I couldn't understand this part of the word, so I'm going to stop right there. Oh, man.
I almost canned laughter there, or canned clapping there.
I got to get some more sound effects in my shows. Oh, man. But yeah, so you guys can vote, and the winner will get something, even if it's just a self-created meme about who's the better person. I don't know. We'll think of something. It'll be fun. But anyway, so now I have to ask, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing was half the battle. What do you think is the other half?
What is the other half of the battle?
Yes.
So if knowing is half the battle, what is the other half? I've never thought about this. But I am going to say the other half of the battle is having the larger artillery shells. We're talking G.I. Joe.
Touche. So that's better than mine. I actually had two because I wasn't sure which one. I thought you might actually do something similar. But no, I was safe. But so the first one was if knowing's half the battle, the other half was giving proper credit to your musicians. But,
that would have been very true for this episode, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And the other one was if knowing is half the battle, the other half is making sure not to include songs about weathermen for children that don't know what a weatherman is.
If knowing is half the battle, aligning your artwork to the songs.
There you go.
Is the other half.
Yeah, because that tree, I mean, that's like Loki disguised as a tree or something.
That is Loki as a tree, yes.
Yep. It's good old Loki stealing his presents. All right. Tom, it's been just a blast talking with you. What do you want to plug? Tell us about Tis a Podcast.
It's this podcast where these annoying people hit you up every week talking about Christmas movies. I do recommend, if you listen, not listening to the Henri Was Here episode. It's not a very happy one. Go with any other ones. But you can find us at tisthepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Right. Thanks for having me, Jerry. This is always fun. I love it. It is always
fun. I hope to get you and Anthony back because I really enjoyed our Batman Patreon episode. And for y'all's show, I really hope you guys come back on and we talk like some of those 80s Batman comics.
Would love to.
They are interesting.
Although I am nearly 2/3 of the way done now with the Court of Owls saga.
Oh, isn't it good?
It may be my favorite Batman.
Isn't it? It's so good. It's very good. Yeah.
I don't know how it's escaped me for the last 3 or 4 years. I guess 4 years that it's been out. But
something like that.
Love it.
Yeah, it was to me it's still a good ending. I think the ending is the weakest out of all of it, but it was like right out of the gate, New 52, bam, Court of Owls, and it's definitely up there, and that's it's definitely in my top 10. I gotta say,
yeah, definitely. I haven't made it to the end yet, so it having a weekend may bring me down a notch.
Well, I mean, but then again, that's just to me. You might disagree. So
we'll see. We'll have to talk soon.
Yes, we will. part 2 of a Patreon episode.
What we should do is we should have a follow-up episode that's a special episode on your podcast.
Oh, there we go.
And that way we can go back and tell people to come check out, finish the conversation on Totally Rad Christmas, dude. I've wanted to say it like that since you came up with the name.
Oh man, I'm totally splicing that, and that's going to be like my ringtone.
I've also played on the podcast. I'm like, what else did I say when we were recording an off things? I said like totally tubular Christmas, like all the like 80s terms. Like that's just what I think now. It's so awesome. I love your podcast title too.
Oh, thanks.
And actually, Christine, my wife who does not listen to Christmas podcasts, loves your artwork too.
Oh, right on.
I've been meaning to tell you that.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Well, I just something I was playing around with, and it's really rough. There's a few places I could like tighten it up, but I was just in a hurry to get a new sticker out, and so I designed it as fast as I could.
It's totally rad.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see. But yeah, this was cool, man, and we definitely got to do it again. So
absolutely.
On that note, I'm going to end it by saying, "This is Christmas. This is Christmas. This is Christmas. Tonight is the night." So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're feeling like you want an elephant for Christmas, leave us a review on iTunes. Not only does it help us reach more people, but you also get a free sticker. Now, don't forget to vote. Later, dudes.